So in this section, all right, we will be rationalizing the denominator. All right, when I say rationalizing the denominator, I mean there's going to be no radicals in the denominator. So if you look at number 1, we have I in the denominator. What is I? Square root of negative 1. So we have a radical in the denominator. So our rule is if we multiply the denominator and the numerator, or we can always multiply both the denominator by the numerator, or we can multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same thing to manipulate the function, okay? So 2 over I here, what would be the most simple thing we could multiply by that would get rid of the I in the denominator? By I, right? Because I times I equals I squared, which is negative 1. Good. All right, if I do it to the denominator, I must do it to the numerator as well. And so that'll give me 2I over I squared, which gives me 2I over negative 1, okay? And the way you would write that is as negative 2I, okay, since it's over a negative. Number 2, before I multiply, what can I do here? I can simplify, good. So that'll be 1/4 I, with that I in the denominator, okay? So again, what will I multiply by here? I. So it gives me I over 4I squared. And I squared is what? Negative 1. So it gives me I over negative 4. And so the way you would want to write that is as negative 1/4 I. Once you have that down, do number 3. All right, you should have gotten negative 3/5 I. Negative 3/5 I. Questions there? Okay. So where it gets a little bit more difficult, what you'll see is when we have binomials in the denominator. When we have a binomial in the denominator, we'll multiply by the conjugate. All right, so if we have A plus B, we would multiply by A minus B. If we had A minus B, we would multiply by A plus B, okay? The conjugate is the same two terms, opposite sign in the middle, okay? When you multiply by the conjugate, you're multiplying by the same two terms, but the opposite sign in the middle. So if you look at number 1 right here, the denominator is 8 plus 2I. So the conjugate would be 8 minus 2I. 8 minus 2I. Same two terms, opposite sign in the middle. Okay. So in the denominator here, we have a binomial times a binomial. Okay. So we would FOIL. All right. And you can FOIL every time if you want to. But when you multiply by the conjugate, outer and inner is always going to cancel in the FOIL part. So you can do the first term squared minus the second term squared. So in this example here, I'm going to FOIL to show you how it cancels. But from this point forward, when I multiply by the conjugate, I will just do the first term squared minus the second term squared. Okay. So here, numerator, right, by 1 just would be 8 minus 2i. Denominator, I'll have first 64, outer minus 16i, inner plus 16i, right? It's just going to cancel. And then last, that will be minus 4i squared. Okay. So we have 8 minus 2i over 64 minus 4i squared. So on the board right here, I'll show you like what I'll do from here on out. When I'm multiplying by the conjugate, I'll do the first term squared minus the second term squared. So that would be 64 minus 2 squared is 4. I squared is I squared, right? Which that gives me 64 plus 4, which gives me 68. So right here, again, that's 64 minus 4i squared. That makes that a plus 4, which gives me 68. So I'll have 8 minus 2i over 68. Very close to being done, but we have to simplify, okay? We have to simplify. So you're going to separate it into two terms, same denominator. Okay, this is how Savas will want you to put the answer in. All right, so 8 divided by 68, what would that simplify to?
4 over 30. Oh, wait. 2 over 17.
Nice. 2 over 17. Very good, Royce. And then what would 2i over 68 simplify to?
I over 34.
Good. Minus I over 34. Okay. And so that is how Savas will want you to write that solution. Okay. All right. Number 2. What would we multiply by?
2 plus
2 plus 8i. Good. Okay. So in the numerator, nice and easy, we would just distribute. Boom, boom. 2i plus 8i squared over. Now again, here on the bottom, I'll do the first term squared minus the second term squared. Okay? You can FOIL if you want to. All right, but I'm just doing first term squared minus the second term squared. So in the denominator, that will give me 4 minus 8 squared is 64. I squared is I squared. That will make that plus 64. So I'll have 68 in the denominator again. So that'll give me 2i. Again, that I squared will make that minus 8 over 68. And when we simplify there, we'll get a very similar answer. Okay. 2i over 68 would simplify to I over 34 minus 2 over 17. Okay, 8 over 68 simplifies to 2 over 17. Try and do number 3. All right, so you should have gotten 6 over 17 minus 10i over 17.